So today we're talking about how to photograph in manual mode so that you can start taking better photos and learn how to have more control over your photography. Now I know this is kind of a scary subject for new photographers, but you know what guys, it's not that hard and it's really something that you need to learn from the very beginning. The trick is just don't overthink it. It's not advanced photography. I mean, think of it this way. When your grandparents back in the day bought a camera, they learned how to shoot in manual mode before they took a single photo. So go get your camera out, as in like hit pause, go get your camera, then come back and just follow me through the video. And at the end of the video, if you still don't know how to photograph in manual mode, that's okay. Just, don't lose track of what you're doing and go off and watch some other random video. Just start this one over, go through it again, and I promise you, after a couple times, you're gonna have no trouble at all and you'll be able to photograph in manual mode. All right, so there's three things that control exposure in your photo, and that's gonna be the shutter speed, the aperture, and the ISO. Now, starting with the aperture, this is something that's actually in the lens. It's not in the camera body. And think of it as a door leading into a room. Either the door is wide open and it's letting a lot of light in and the room is really bright, or you've kind of closed that door, not as much light's getting in, the room's a little bit darker. So the aperture is controlled by F numbers, and I'll put those down below here, but let's just look at a few of them. F2, F4, F8. So at F2, the door is pretty wide open and a lot of light is coming in, the room's brightly lit. But now I'm gonna close it down to F4 and you can see that the room's getting a little bit darker. And then if I close it down to F8, the room's getting even more dark. And you'll actually hear photographers refer to this as closing down the aperture or shutting down the aperture. And whenever it comes to exposure, that's really all you need to know about the aperture. Open it up and it gets brighter, close it down and it gets darker. Now moving on to shutter speed. And let's just go ahead and continue with this whole room analogy. But let's say that you're in the house, everything's brightly lit, and you walk into your bedroom and shut the door with the lights off. You can't see anything, it's just pitch black. And that's because your eyes haven't had time to adjust to the darkness, because there is light in that room. And as the light, over time enters in through your eyes, you can start to make things out. You can see your bed, you can see your dresser, the closet door. And that's exactly what shutter speed is. Shutter speed is the amount of time that light is allowed to enter the camera. So shutter speed on your camera is measured in seconds or fractions of a second. So let's say it's set at 1,000. That stands for 1/1000th of a second, which that's really fast, and not much time has gone by for light to enter in the camera. Therefore, it's going to be a lot darker than, say, if you left it open for an entire second. Now, there's a lot more involved with shutter speed, and I'll make another video about that. But for right now, just know that a slower shutter speed is going to record movement as a blur. So if I have my hand over here and I take a photo 1 second long, and as that entire second drags out, I move my hand over here, then you're going to have a photo that is a blur from here to here. More on that later. For right now, when it comes to shooting in manual mode, just know that a slower shutter speed is going to be brighter and a faster shutter speed is going to be darker. All right, so now you know how to control your exposure through the aperture and the shutter speed. That only leaves one more thing, and that's the ISO. This is going to be represented by numbers starting at a lower number and going up to a higher number. And as the number increases, that means that the camera is becoming more sensitive to light. So let's say that I'm set to a lower ISO number. I'm not that sensitive to the light, so everything looks, fairly normal. But if I increase that number, I'm becoming more sensitive to the light in the environment and things are going to get brighter. So how you set the ISO depends on how much light is in the scene. Let's say that you're outside, it's the middle of the day, everything is really bright. You can go with the lowest ISO setting and everything's going to look fine. But as the sun goes down, it's getting darker. And so by bumping up the ISO, the camera becomes more sensitive to the light available and produces a brighter image. Something to keep in mind is as ISO increases, photo quality decreases, and something called noise becomes introduced into the photo, which appears like a nasty color grain. So try to use the aperture and the shutter speed first, and if you still need to brighten up the image, then use the ISO as a last resort. So just to recap things, for the aperture, you want to open it up to make it brighter, close it down to make it darker. For the shutter speed, slower is brighter, faster is darker. And for the ISO, If you increase the ISO, it's going to become brighter, but that's also a last resort kind of thing. All right, now the key is don't give up. If you need to start the video over, just go through it again, and I promise you 2 or 3 times you'll be able to photograph in manual mode with no problem. So hit the like button down below if you liked this video and it helped you out. Subscribe to the channel for more photography videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.